is everything going on around Taiwan, is that serious, or is that just saber rattling, do you think?
I don't know. I think it's really serious, and so does the U.S. military and DoD. I think our military, our Defense Department, came into 2022 thinking that the time at which China is likely to move on Taiwan would be sometime in 2027. They've actually said that publicly.
Wow.
The new numbers, so the new expectations are in the next 1 to 2 years.
Really?
And so DoD is spinning up a number of programs to deal with this potential risk. If you saw the Chinese embassy, Xinjiang just gave a press conference on August 16th. What was that? 8 days ago, where he accused the U.S. of running more than 100 crossings to the Taiwan Strait with U.S. warships. We've only run 7 this year, according to the U.S. Navy. And so even their rhetoric that's public is full of lies, and their response to Pelosi's visit is disproportionate. And the ratchet is moving faster than anyone expected it to move. But they're just using Pelosi's visit as an excuse to go ahead and make this new move and change their defensive position to being offensive in the Taiwan Straits. And I think it's inevitable that they move on Taiwan. And that changes the whole ball game for people that have money invested in Chinese companies. They need to get it out right now.
Wow. Okay. So many questions. First off, I guess, do you think Russia's invasion of Ukraine has emboldened China in its terms of its Taiwan strategy?
Yeah, I look back to the February 4th press release, February 4th, 2022, where Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin issued a joint press release. You should go reread that press release. Read it carefully. They talk about supporting each other's moves, where they say their new partnership, quote, has no limits and no boundaries to the strategic partnership, i.e.
Wow.
Nuclear proliferation,
Yep.
Spy satellites, whatever you want to talk about. The Russians and the Chinese are in it together, and they say it in this press release. And Xi supports Putin's reacquisition of Ukraine in this press release. Mind you, this is 20 days before the invasion. And Putin supports the reacquisition of, quote, the Taiwanese separatists. I mean, they literally tell you what they're going to do, and they tell you that they are going to strategically partner in any way possible to make this happen. So when you say, has China learned anything from Russia's invasion? My answer to that is China and Russia have had these battle plans drawn up together for a long time. In the last 10 years, Xi Jinping has met face-to-face with Putin 40 times. Just think about that for a second.
Wow. And I'm just curious, what's that relative to meeting with the U.S. president over that same period?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm going to go look that up. But I'd be willing to bet that number is 10 or less. Right? They don't meet more than once a year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, and Russia right now is still in Ukraine. It still has control over all the resources that it went in there to get, and so that may embolden China to say, hey, look, they seem to be getting away with it with their plan, so maybe we will too. Of course, Taiwan is different in terms of where the U.S. is concerned. We have, I think, much more direct national interests in Taiwan. So what do you think the implications would be? I mean, is this something that conceivably China and the U.S. could get into a hot war over?
I do. I think it's likely, but I also think that we are not going to send carrier strike groups to go get in a hot war in the Taiwanese Strait. If they have one of their carrier killer missiles sink one of our carriers, we lose 5,000 men and women. And I think those are unacceptable losses to the public. I bet that polls less than 30% amongst the American public's desire to go support Taiwan. But one thing that we can do, we hold the economic nuclear button against China. China's interactions with the rest of the world on a daily basis basically revolve around the dollar. That 85% of their cross-border settlements are handled in dollars. And so they desperately need oil, they desperately need gas, they desperately need food, basic materials. They are desperately short many things that they need to acquire in international markets every single day. If we sanction their SOE banks, their joint stock banks, and pull them off the SWIFT system, I think the Chinese economy collapses in a matter of weeks. So if I were the president of the United States, or if I were running Treasury, I'd be socializing the concept that if they move on Taiwan, we will remove them from the SWIFT system. And that kind of deterrence is what worked in the Cold War with Russia, right? With nukes versus nukes. We're not socializing that concept, but I can tell you behind the scenes, we are talking about it right now.
All right. So, I mean, China's got to be aware of that vulnerability. So if it seems increasingly likely that they may actually go into Taiwan, how are they planning on defending against that?
Yeah, well, if you remember when we started, we had a presidential commission about to roll out on the studying the origins of COVID virus and what basically how it started and how all the global actors acted. And when we announced that presidential commission, the very first thing that the Chinese Foreign Ministry did is within an hour they held a press conference and they said, if this commission is convened, we will withhold antibiotics from the United States. And we killed that commission immediately. So 95% of the active pharmaceutical ingredients in all US antibiotics are made in Wuhan. Wow. We rely solely on China to produce 100% of our blood pressure medicine, 95% of antibiotics. They also control the production of ibuprofen in both Advil and Tylenol. Like, we allowed that frog to boil over time, and they will use that against us. And so this is while we hold the nuclear button on their economy, they have us by the short hairs in a number of situations.
If you enjoyed this video clip, click here to watch another one you should like.